First one, that the paperwork, we didn't recorded it.
Napagong te.
Take breaks and practice self-compassion to stop stigma on mental health. As what Bill Clinton said, mental illness is nothing to be ashamed of, but stigma and bias shames us all. The study by Brooke Linden and her colleagues across the 3 time points in the 2020-2021 academic year, involving more than 10,000 post-secondary Canadian students, established that average stress and psychological distress levels are consistent for many learners across different time periods in the academic calendar. These findings imply that the learning experience for the typical student is stressful. As a mental health professional and student, I know the cost of being silent about this issue. Too many of us push ourselves to breaking points because we are ashamed to rest or ask for help. According to Karen, Pat, and her colleagues, they conducted a cross-sectional study with student-level data from the cannabis, obesity, mental health, physical ability, alcohol, smoking, and sedentary behavior. The study during the 2018-2019 school year and established that most of the students, 62%, prefer to handle the problems themselves, and 43% were concerned of what others might think of them seeking mental health. These were the 2 main reasons for delaying seeking help, a finding that can be extrapolated to the wider youth population. The truth is, perfectionism is a lie, and stigma is the enemy. By learning to take breaks and speak kindly to ourselves, we can start to heal and inspire others to do the same. Today, I will explore how mental health stigma harms students and why participating self-compassion and taking breaks are powerful ways to change that. Let us begin by examining the problem and why it matters. The problem: the stigma destroys mental health. Stigma discourages students from seeking help. Students fear being seen as weak or incapable. This fear plays their reluctance to seek help either in an informal capacity or from a professional. According to Cancer Goyler and his colleagues, in their book entitled Self-Stigma to Psychological Help Seeking Among University Students and the Health Sciences, published in 2025, students, especially those in health sciences, are exposed to high levels of stress from academic workload, clinical demands, and even exposure to death during clinical practice. Yet, this demographic is less likely to seek professional psychological help due to the fear of stigma. This reluctance explains the high suicide rates. Internalized stigma leads to isolation and delayed intervention, according to Goyler. And they explain that self-stigma occurs when people internalize cultural stereotypes about mental illness and help seeking. Those experiencing self-stigma may see themselves as weak or unacceptable for seeking help. This internal labeling can lower both self-worth and self-esteem over time. Most importantly, it increases the risk of more serious mental health issues. Shame creates a cycle of self-neglect. Harsh self-talk replaces compassion. According to Katu on her book entitled Effects of Self-Compassion on Depressive Symptoms and Suicide Risk in College Students, published in 2025, states that higher negative self-compassion is linked to increased suicide risk through elevated depression. In contrast, stronger positive self-compassion is connected to reduced suicide risk by lowering depression. While the problem is clear, there is practical and evidence-based solution. The solution is self-compassion, and by taking breaks, we build resilience. Self-compassion promotes psychological well-being, encourages forgiving yourself for setbacks, and according to Tuka Ketu, self-compassion involves being supportive of self when in pain or when experiencing an adversity. Taking breaks prevents burnout and enhances focus. Breaks reduce cognitive overload and regulate emotions. According to Eva Smith and his colleagues on their book entitled Investigating the Effectiveness of Self-Regulated Pomodoro and Flow Time Break-Taking Techniques Among Students, published in 2025, taking effective breaks during study sessions is vital for making academic performance levels higher for students. This strategy is especially true in self-regulated learning, where students independently plan their study tasks. Even short pauses improve performance and motivation. However, Smith and his colleagues states that students should also be very wary of too many pauses or breaks because it could introduce additional self-monitoring loads. Lastly, modeling healthy habits reduces stigma collectively. Speaking openly about self-care encourages others. According to Jolene Dopemer and her colleagues on their book entitled Predicting Disclosure and Help-Seeking University Students with Psychosocial Problems Based on Stigma and Attitudes Towards Disclosure and Help-Seeking, published in 2020, states that students facing mental health challenges often turn to non-professionals, especially peers, for support. They seek help from peers more often than from professionals. Therefore, there is a need to normalize vulnerability and help-seeking. In conclusion, the tools to challenge stigma and improve mental health are already in our hands. Stigma thrives in silence and shame, but it does not have to define how we live or how we study. Today, I showed how mental health stigma harms students by silencing them and promoting unrealistic expectations. I also explained how self-compassion and intentional breaks can interrupt this cycle and create a supportive culture. Taking care of ourselves is not a luxury, it is a necessity. When we rest without guilt and speak to ourselves with kindness, we develop the resilience to better handle the adversity, not only then, but also in the future. As a call to action, I invite you to take one intentional break today. Step outside, breathe deeply, or close your eyes for 10 minutes. Remind yourself that rest is not failure, but a recovery process. Then, talk about it and share your experience to encourage a friend. When we practice self-care out loud like this, we dismantle stigma and protect our mental health together. Thank you.